I was 38 when I crossed paths with Lisa. She was 33 at the time, already divorced, and raising her 9-year-old daughter Mia. I had just stepped out of a long relationship and wasn't looking for anything heavy. But Lisa had this undeniable energy about her. A spark that made me want to forget every boundary I had set for myself. At first, we kept things casual, but it didn't take long before I was swept up completely. She was sharp, witty, striking, and had a way of blending sarcasm with warmth. More than anything, she was a devoted mother. When I met Mia, she was guarded, as any child would be when a stranger steps into her world. I never tried to fill the role of her father. I just showed up, always. Soccer practices, school plays, doctor's appointments, late-night homework, birthdays. I was there for it all. Over time, she allowed me in little by little. By her teenage years, she started calling me Pops. The first time she said it, I cried. That single word carved itself into my soul. Lisa and I never made our relationship legal. Her divorce had scarred her deeply, and she refused to put the government in charge of her love life again. I respected that. Paper or no paper, we were a family. We shared bills, bought a house together, and built our life from the ground up. For years, I thought we were unshakable. But slowly, the cracks began to show. It started with late nights at work that grew too frequent to ignore. She clutched her phone like it was an extra limb, and little arguments appeared out of nowhere. I chalked it up to the empty nest hitting her hard after Mia left for college. Maybe even a midlife unraveling. I kept patient, kept supportive, convinced it would pass. Then came the night her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I glanced at the screen without thinking, expecting a harmless notification. Instead, I saw a message from someone saved under an asterisk. Can't stop thinking about last night. Wish you were here again. My blood ran cold. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to be sure. So I gathered proof, screenshots, receipts, hotel confirmations. In the weeks that followed, the picture became painfully clear. She had been with a co-worker named Robert for 6 months. Business trips were romantic escapes. Conferences were weekend trysts. When I finally confronted her, she didn't cry, didn't deny, didn't even apologize. She crossed her arms and said she hadn't felt alive in years. That Robert made her feel seen. 15 years of loyalty, partnership, and devotion, dismissed like a worn-out chair left on the curb. I told her I was leaving. No fight, no theatrics. Just the quiet end of something I thought would last forever. But then Mia called. She had always been close with her mom, and I braced for that. What I wasn't prepared for was her telling me to grow up, that her mother deserved happiness, that we weren't even married. So why was I acting like my world had ended? Her words pierced deeper than Lisa's betrayal. So 15 years mean nothing because we never signed a piece of paper? I asked. Her reply was cold. It's just life, Pops. People grow apart. Hearing the nickname in that moment cut like a blade. That was it. I couldn't stay. I packed my things and left the home I had poured myself into, starting over 2 towns away. At 53, beginning again was brutal. The silence gnawed at me. The questions replayed endlessly. Did I ever really matter? Was I just a placeholder? But eventually something shifted. The weight of suspicion and tension was gone. I no longer had to wonder why she was late or who she was texting. I found myself again, took up woodworking, biked on weekends, reached out to old friends. Even dipped into dating. Nothing serious, but enough to remind myself I was alive. Months later, a message from Mia appeared. She apologized, admitting she hadn't realized how much I meant to them until I was gone. I didn't reply. Then Lisa reached out. Things with Robert had crumbled quickly. He was only in it for the thrill. She said she missed me, loved me, was seeing a therapist, wanted us to try again. I didn't respond to her either. Because the truth is, I gave them everything. My love, my loyalty, my time. And when it mattered most, they threw me away. A year has passed since I walked out of that house. Some days the sting feels fresh. Other days it feels like a story that happened to someone else. I never told anyone about the messages from either of them. Not friends, not co-workers. I didn't need sympathy or judgment. I just needed peace. Life, however, has its way of surfacing truths. Turns out Robert had a pregnant girlfriend. She stormed into Lisa's office one day, armed with receipts and accusations. Lisa got hit with disciplinary action, reassigned to a cramped cubicle by the emergency exit. Her once bright reputation dimmed, her circle of friends scattered. A few weeks ago, Mia showed up at my door. I lingered behind the peephole for a while before opening. She stood there with a coffee, black, 2 sugars, just how I like it. She looked older, not in age, but in her eyes. Life had settled heavy on her. We sat on the porch. She didn't cry, didn't beg. She just admitted she had idolized her mother and hadn't seen the cracks until I was gone. That she realized too late that I had been the one constant in her life. I was angry, not at her, but at the idea that love and devotion could be so easily dismissed. But anger no longer ruled me. That wound had scarred over. And scars, I've learned, don't always mean pain. Sometimes they're reminders of strength. Lisa still sends me long texts, pages about regret, growth, and how she never thought I'd really leave. I don't answer. My silence is the only response left. I'm not a backup plan, not someone's safety net when the thrill burns out. Recently, I met someone at a bookstore. A woman in her 40s with paint-smudged jeans and a smile that disarmed me. We talked about novels, dogs, art. She invited me to see her studio. Her name was Erin. A month later, I finally walked past her studio and stepped inside. She grinned and said, "Took you long enough." We spent hours talking, not about betrayal or brokenness, but about music, colors, sawdust life. No expectations, no weight. Just presence. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking back. And that, I realized, is freedom.